today was also another big day in terms of news that came out, and you folks have already heard that Jared Curtis, all the smoke, there was some fire behind it. He did flip to it still is almost laughable to me, to a serious football player who would flip from Georgia to Vandy. And Vandy, has had a resurgent couple of years. When you say resurgent, that means they're coming up after being down for a while. They've always been down in terms of football.
Right.
They've never had a good football
they've
program.
never surged, so it's not.
They've never surged. So resurge would be, the re is not needed. So, but yeah, he did flip, and it kind of was a crazy day because he said, I didn't release his information yet, but he already told some people. Apparently, he's told people different things all along, and I get it. He's trying to make a decision, and Georgia feels like the best choice. But then the hometown team, if Vanderbilt wasn't in Nashville, in his hometown, he's from Nashville Christian, not an issue. He's already kind of pushed away Oregon in this whole situation months ago. You feel like Vandy's not a real obstacle. But you saw what Diego Pavia did. He did it all by himself pretty much on the team that's devoid of a whole lot of talent. And they're going to be much less talent next year. Yeah. But Jared Curtis is going to get an opportunity to make it his own team and to play. He's got a guarantee to play quarterback every year there. And he wouldn't have that at Georgia. He'd have to earn it on the practice field. And Georgia couldn't give him that. The money was very similar, Smooch, but it just feels like in terms of football, if you want to be the best football player you can be, it's an easy choice, and he didn't make that one.
Yeah, I would think so too. People have asked us, we tried to calm down the Georgia worry a few months ago or a few weeks ago, because we do love to worry, and he did go visit Vanderbilt. Well, I'll tell you this. Look, I spoke to his family. They looked me dead in the eye and said he's a Georgia Bulldog, and that is not going to change. That's all we can go with, guys. I don't know what changed, but something certainly did. The idea I got was that he was so locked into Georgia, it was actually silly for people to be concerned that he might go somewhere else. That was exactly what I got when I spoke with his family. And so to be in this situation now, best of luck to the kid. Georgia's going to be just fine, by the way, guys. But best of luck to the kid. It just seems like a very odd choice when you're talking about a career. He's at this point now 3 years from, going to the NFL. Hopefully, this seems like a very odd choice. And I'm going to tell you this, he's not Diego Pavia. He's not. Pavia, they caught lightning in a bottle.
In 6 years, he might be.
Right, in 6 years, yeah. When he's what 32? How old?
He doesn't want to stay in college that long, though. He doesn't.
Right. He's already proven that he's not really all that patient. Well, Diego's been doing it a long time, and so you don't want to sit. You don't want to develop. That's fine. Best of luck. We're going to be just fine, Georgia fans. It sucks to miss out on another one. These 5 stars that they get your hopes up, and you're like, what would this team be with a legitimate thoroughbred at this position? But here we are.
Yeah, and it's happened. It stings even more so. We watched him play. Smooch went to one of his games, and we've put a lot of stuff out on him. And that stuff's still getting hits on Twitter. I still get lots of notifications on the video we put out on Curtis this football season. But it stings because this happened recently. Even this far back a couple years ago with Arch Manning, because it was us in Texas. He had came to Georgia, and it looked like Georgia was leading for a while. He went to Texas. Raiola, you saw he moved to Georgia.
Right.
And I think we dodged a bullet with him.
Yeah.
But and then he at the very end chose Nebraska. And now he might transfer from Nebraska.
Looking like it.
And it just feels so weird that those three, and then now Curtis at the very last moment. If you want to go to Vandy, go to Vandy. Go. Don't string us along. Don't commit to Georgia twice. If the commitment means anything, then make it mean something. And it feels bad. That part feels like bad taste.
So to recap, he committed to Georgia, decommitted to Georgia, recommitted to Georgia. At that point, you're now hurting Georgia's ability to recruit. At that point, you're hurting their ability to stock the cupboard because they think they've already got that. What would you do if you had a 5-star quarterback going in? You going to try and get another 5-star quarterback to come in right next to him? No. Once you got your guy coming in, you sort of you take a deep breath. And so it's not a, I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it's not a sign of kind of it's a sign of selfishness. Well, I'll just say that look. You want to go to Vandy? Go to Vandy. It's right there. They're right down the road from your house. Just go there. But the stringing along, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm a dog through and through. Nothing's going to change that on his own Twitter. Look, whatever. But the stringing along thing, that's really going to sting when we play Vanderbilt next season.
If we do play them, they do come to Athens next year. And if he gets what he wants, he's going to be starting with a team that's going to lose 40-plus players to eligibility. That's how upper class they are. They're going to lose. They're going to have to really depend on some portal additions. And buddy, that's not the way to go. They're a complete rebuild, and you're going to be a true freshman. I do have a question for you, Smooch, and I just mentioned this in terms of Arch Manning and then Dylan Raiola, then now Jared Curtis. Compare that to Stetson Bennett, Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, and even Puglisi. What does all that mean? What's the difference in those top players for Georgia?
Well, if you take the three that have not come to Georgia, Gunnar's better than all three right now.
And they're all high five-star rated.
They're all high 5 stars. Real happy with Gunnar. Look, we kept Carson Beck. I really think, we had him here, 4 years? I think you could make the argument Carson Beck is better than Arch Manning. I don't think that's really a stretch. And Stetson is the only quarterback in the history of college football playoffs to win back-to-back national championships. So, the sexy picks might not be the ones at quarterback getting it done, but Georgia gets it done at the quarterback position at the same time. The hype around Arch has completely cooled off, which I think cooled off.
He's playing better. He's playing his best football.
I think he's a really good quarterback. But when you're talking about the best college football player that's ever existed, that's just too much.
Too much.
With Dylan Raiola, I'm thinking we dodged a major bullet.
He did.
I think we probably, Fields leaving was probably the best thing that ever happened for the Georgia program.
He would have been sitting on the bench and causing a problem. Yeah.
Right.
Both those guys, but.
Right. How many national championships those guys got?
None. And the thing is that the players that Georgia had were willing to put in time and were program players. They were willing to put in several years and wait their turn. And that's I think Georgia's willing to adapt and adjust to like a player like Curtis and say, hey, you want to come in here and compete your first year? Let's do it. You're still going to have to compete. Mm-hmm. We're not Vandy. We can't just say, okay, this is your job.
It's your team.
Because Georgia offered him the NIL offer for Curtis was just south of $1 million, not even to play.
Right.
Just to be a backup for Gunnar Stockton next year. That's a pretty good gig. But you can't guarantee these guys. You have to earn it on the field, and that's the standard that Georgia sets. And Vandy, if he's good as he's supposed to be, he can still make it. But, there are also some risks, Mooch, to come in and playing for a team who can't protect you, can't give you the weapons you need, and you're playing in the SEC. And some of these teams are saying, okay, Pavia is done. I'm done with Vandy, taking shots at us, and they're gonna punish Vandy for that for the past couple years. So there is, in your first couple years, if you are on a team that is not preparing you the right way and leading you in any level of sports you play. If they bring you up too soon, there's damage. For a high level athlete, they don't want to put you in a situation where you're going to get psychologically damaged by it.
Right.
Because you'll come out the other side a different player than you would have if they were prepared for you.
Yeah, what makes an elite quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback, what makes them what they are their instincts. Well, your instincts are involuntary, right? That's the way you respond to stimuli. And you can rewire that part of the brain by putting yourself in bad situations before you have the maturity and ability level to handle the mental processing of it, to when you can actually develop incorrect instincts. And that's the reason you have all those levels of minor league baseball, for instance, right?
Yes.
It's about bringing these guys up step by step so as to keep their wiring, their instincts pointed in the right direction. And we've seen kids that lit it up in minor league baseball that go up to the majors at 19 and then flame out. That type of thing does happen. And so you're going to the hardest conference in all of football with a team that is completely rebuilding. Best of luck. I told you this. I believe I don't know if I said it on the show. I know I said this on our thread when we were talking. Curtis in high school is a dual threat quarterback. I didn't see where he was a dual threat quarterback at the SEC level. I mean, he's mobile enough, but he's closer in mobility to Carson Beck than he is to Gunnar Stockton or Stetson Bennett. And so he's going to need his legs. Pavia is gifted on his feet, and that's helped him. And everything's going to go down a step next year. And so, yeah, I just see Curtis getting very, very stretched. He's going to have to rely on that arm talent. But unpopular opinion right now, Puglisi has better arm talent than Curtis right now. Now, give him a few years, we'll see. But that's the state of things right now. But anyway, back to Curtis. I just think that I want it to work out for him. We love seeing guys do well and rise. And we would love for Vanderbilt to remain an actual threat in the SEC instead of doing what we think they're probably going to do next year, and that is head back the other direction.
It would sting even worse if he was going to Alabama or Tennessee or Texas. Go on to Vandy, have your fun. You won't, you're not going to threaten Georgia from Vandy, so we're okay with that. My last point on this is that I just told you that he was going to collect over almost $1 million just to sit behind Gunnar Stockton next year. So his second, maybe this was a point of his comparison to his second season at Georgia would have been battling against a 4-year player in Ryan Puglisi, who is as talented as anybody Georgia's had in that quarterback room. Ryan Puglisi would be a 4-year player battling against Curtis at that point. And Montgomery as well. Montgomery would be a 3-year player. He looks good too. So there's no guarantees. And Georgia's Kirby Smart's not going to guarantee anything to a player in their living room or in a boardroom. You got to earn it on the field. And I think Curtis is a special player. I've loved watching his film this year, and I'd love to have him. But